Herodian Book 2, Section 7. As soon as Julianus came to power, he began to waste his time in feasting and drinking, and idly neglected public welfare by abandoning himself to luxurious and indecent living. It was discovered that he had even deceived the soldiers by his lies, since he was unable to keep his promises to them. He did not, in fact, have as much money as he had boasted of in his private possession, and the public treasuries, which were completely exhausted by the extravagance of Commodus's wasteful and indiscriminate expenditure, certainly had nothing to spare. Having been tricked in this way out of their hopes by Julianus's brazenness, the soldiers were extremely annoyed, and as the people saw this attitude of the soldiers, they showed their contempt for Julianus. They shouted insults at him when he came out in public and made fun of him for his immoral, questionable sensuality. At the circus, where the people principally gathered to express their opinions, they cursed Julianus, invoking Niger as the protector of the empire and champion of the sacred offices and champion of the sacred office of emperor, and calling upon him to help them as soon as he could because they were being treated so outrageously. Niger was one of the ex-consuls who had held office several years earlier, and at the time these events were taking place in Rome, was serving as governor of the whole of Syria. This was an extensive province and the largest of its day, comprising the whole of Phoenicia and the territory stretching as far as the Euphrates under Niger's command. Niger was quite old and a distinguished record for a number of important activities. He had a reputation for being a gentle, fair man, as though he modeled his life on the example of Pertinax. And it was these qualities which particularly influenced the Romans. When the people had met together, they called upon Niger continually, insulting Julianus, who was present, and honoring Niger, who was absent, with the titles of emperor. On being given the news about the feeling of the Roman people and the shouting that was taking place continually at the meetings, Niger was understandably misled into supposing that he would have any easy success. The two important factors were that the soldiers of the bodyguard were taking no steps to protect Julianus because of his failure to pay them the financial rewards he had promised, and the people contemptuously dismissed him as unworthy of the empire he had bought. Therefore, Niger put all his hopes on becoming emperor. As a first measure, he summoned the legionary commanders and military tribunes and more distinguished soldiers in small groups to his private residence, where he discussed the subject with them and tried to win them over by telling them the news he was receiving from Rome. In so doing, he intended the news to come to the ears of the soldiers and the rest of the inhabitants of the eastern provinces once the rumor was current. In this way, Niger hoped that no one would have any difficulty in supporting him. If they heard that he, for his part, was not making some insidious bid for power, but going to assist the Romans in response to their call. And indeed, everyone did become excited. Straight away, they began to press Niger with requests to be allowed to take a personal part in the campaign. Syrians, being characteristically erratic people, are always ready to set up established rule. But they also had a real affection for Niger because he had been a mild governor to everyone and frequently used to join in the celebration of their festivals. The Syrians are naturally fond of holidays, which applies particularly to the citizens of Antioch. the largest and most flourishing city. In Antioch, they celebrate festivals practically the whole year round, either in the city or in the surrounding district. Because Niger had given them a succession of show about which they are particularly enthusiastic, and had granted them license to have feasts and celebrations, which he knew were popular, he was obviously respected.